I am super excited because today on the TDSM podcast, we have Lizzie Smiley. She has been selling on Etsy for over 9 years and has one of the top Etsy selling podcasts called How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy with over 500,000 downloads. Over the last almost decade, Lizzie has experience selling on Etsy, spanning from physical goods to digital downloads to print on demand. And now also in this new era of AI, learning how to do AI generated mockups and building shops around AI generated assets, which we're gonna dive really deep into this episode so you can get all the new ins and know-how of how to build AI generated Etsy shops. This episode also takes a little bit of a personal turn, diving into the ins and outs of our own personal relationship with entrepreneurship that I feel like a lot of people can relate with, or possibly even feel comforted by knowing that a lot of the things that we experience as entrepreneurs is not totally unique to just us. So hopefully you can also get some insight or comfort from that part of the episode as well. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Welcome everybody to the Till Death Stop Me podcast, because the inevitable is one day we are going to die. Sounds pretty morbid, right? But you want to know what I think is even more depressing? Merely existing on this planet and not achieving, not going, not experiencing, not meeting, not having every single thing that I've ever wanted in this life. We have one shot to do this thing right. So we might as well experience every single thing we've ever wanted, have every single thing that we've ever wanted, build communities with long-lasting, meaningful relationships. Most importantly, achieve our ideal version of what success looks like to us. So that is why in this podcast, we're going to be interviewing people that, even against all the odds, have been able to do that and are working constantly every single day to build their ideal lifestyle. So without further ado, thank you for tuning in, guys. Let's get into this episode. All right, and thank you, Lizzie, for joining the TDSM podcast today.
Thank you for having me, Hannah. It's a joy to be with you again.
I know. I love our conversations. Well, we had one really 6-hour conversation and now finally, actually guys, we sat down to shoot a podcast and then we just ended up talking all day. So now finally we're shooting this episode.
It was like 3 years of therapy in one conversation.
Pretty much. It was really good, but that's online friends. That's what happens when you make online friends. So yes. I'm super excited. We finally get to record this episode, but all right, tell us a little bit about your background. You have really the top Etsy podcast. You've been sharing all your expertise on all the things that you've been doing on Etsy, from handmade, digital downloads, print on demand. And yeah, I just want to know, how did you get started into all of this, especially with having very limited background? You know, you kind of just did the school hard knocks thing and figured it out. So what did that look like for you?
Yeah. And so it's so funny because I have a friend who's really into astrology. And so I learned about myself recently that part of my personality identity is that anything I learn, I have to share. And I don't know if that's a toxic trait or if it's a great thing, because everyone else benefits. I needed a podcast because no one else wanted to listen anymore. But you know what? My listeners are amazing and they love to listen. So I grew up with parents who were entrepreneurs. They ran their own business, but they were so traditional. Okay. They very much they didn't feel like entrepreneurs, if that makes sense. It felt very corporate. You know, they had 60 employees. They were in sales. They were selling software. It was boring. But I was around that, and I was around the hustle, and I was used to being around people who were very successful. It was just our lifestyle, but they raised me to follow the traditional path. And so I very much got good grades, went to college, got a degree in history, and had every plan to take my general liberal arts degree into the world. And I got a job at, if people have heard of it, USAA. It's an insurance company and bank. I don't know what could be more boring. They serve the military, and I moved from Chicago to Texas right out of college to work at USAA. And I learned really, really quickly that the corporate, it was really hard on my mental health. And we didn't even use that language back then. This is circa 2005. when I am starting in, yeah, I know, when I am starting in corporate America. And it was, so those of you who are in the 9 to 5, you are probably not seen enough. Like you are probably really hurting and you are not seen enough. And it was so hard to be in that lifestyle. And I had to find a way out. And I'm the girl, Hannah. I tried everything. I was a social media manager for years. I tried book illustration. I did, and I always made money, but I never had my breakthrough. It's all cumulative, right? Everything we learn is cumulative. It stacks on top of each other, so it's never wasted. I had a blog. I did so many different kind of like side hustly things. And so what happened was my blog was going very well because I knew how to do social media. And I got pregnant very unexpectedly. Turned out to be the most wonderful thing. But my husband and I are very DIY people. He likes to work with his hands. He built like reclaimed wood signs for my daughter's nursery. And I painted them and we did our little DIY family thing. And I posted them to the blog and on social, and people were like, oh my gosh, those are super rustic. You can't find stuff like that anywhere. Like, where did you get them? Or can we buy them from you or whatever? And I was like, oh, okay, maybe. Okay. And so that is what kind of set my wheels going. But I started making signs to sell on my blog, and I sold like 3. And then because I didn't know how to draw the right traffic, just because people wanted to read my blog didn't mean they wanted to buy reclaimed wood signs. And that is how we ended up on Etsy, like taking all that together. So it was like a few months of that, making very, very few sales, and then finding out I didn't even know about Etsy. And I put my signs up on there. And it was really interesting because I was looking at the competition and seeing that they were making a lot of sales. And I think that's what gave me like how I stuck with it, Hannah, because I'm like, it's one thing on my website. I can't validate if this is any good or how to send the traffic, but I'm here on Etsy. We're apples to apples next to each other. I'm doing something wrong they're making sales and I'm not. So it took a few months. It took probably 3 or 4 months. And I finally took a course and learned about SEO, which was my big missing piece. And I was able to scale that shop from making like $25 a month, like one sale here or there from friends and family, to a shop that made anywhere from $6,000 to $12,000 a month for several years. And it was epic once the feeling, anyone who's struggling right now, because I actually am in some of my projects where, you never get perfect. I can do Etsy like a boss, no problem. But when you learn something new, it can be really discouraging when you're in the thick of it and you're like, why isn't this working? I've worked so hard. I just want to and I just want to tell you, you're just a few feet from gold. And when it happens, it feels really good. Like when it actually happens.
I don't think any entrepreneur that has built anything worthwhile has not skipped that step. Everyone has gone through that, like F this right now. Everything is just like, I give it my heart, my soul, and then some, but it's like one step over that. Like you said, what was your blog about? What was that?
Parenting, faith. I was on a really
okay.
You want to just go deep right now. My husband and I had a lot of problems early in our marriage because there was infidelity and lying, and we had a really intense come to Jesus, literally and figuratively, that we went through an incredible healing process. And we're one of the few, I'm one of the happy stories where we got the right help when we needed it, and we were both willing to do the work. So he wasn't too busy being like, I'm not doing anything wrong, F you. And I wasn't all like, you're just the spawn of Satan. This is all your fault. His choices were his fault, but I needed to look at the energy I was bringing to our relationship as well. We were both ready to grow and heal. And so the blog was very much around healing from that journey and the spiritual piece to that really helped us. And then, parenting, marriage, all of that. I got a lot of really intense emails. Let me just tell you, when people are in crisis, I'm the one who hears from them.
Wow. But that's crazy how that all manifested into then a business, basically, and success with a business. I don't know. The universe works in mysterious ways. Wow. That's really inspiring. That's awesome. And awesome that everything worked out good.
Yes, truly. So, now that we're like 14 years out, and I have the marriage of my dreams. And for a while there, I really didn't know if that was ever going to happen.
Yeah. Wow.
It's cool. It's good stuff.
It is. That's really inspiring. Yeah. For anyone listening or going through hard times, it's like, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. maybe whatever that means for you in some way. So after you guys are working together, or you have this other Etsy business, what is the next transition from there for you?
With the sign shop that we had.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I started the sign shop, the shop that made me hundreds of thousands on Etsy. That I like just learned so much from. It was, if anyone's watching, you can kind of see there's like a wood sign in the background. We made all these wood signs, kind of Joanne Gaines farmhouse style, and we started it after my daughter was born. Well, when we decided 7 years later that we were going to have another child, I laugh because we waited so long. We decided we had to put the shop on vacation mode because we were dealing with sawdust and stain and pain and all of these things that were going to be really toxic to a pregnancy. And I was already kind of at risk. So at that point, I had enough information. And here's where my little like astrology thing peeked in. I was just like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a podcast. So in 2001, I was still running my shop. Actually, I didn't know I was turning it off right away. There was like a 3-month overlap where I'm running the sign shop. We just came out of insane COVID where that was where we were making having like $13,000 months. It was crazy. And then launched the podcast, decided we were going to get pregnant and I needed to turn the shop off. And I've been running the podcast ever since. And then since then, I've started a print on demand shop to learn multiple digital product shops. And it's been so fun, like working with other sellers. I've gotten to work with thousands of other sellers. And you know what? I learned more about Etsy than I ever would have, even just with my own shops. Like, it's crazy when you start getting into these other, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You start meeting people and seeing the inside of their business. It's like you almost gain more. But you said 2001. Did you mean 2021? 2021.
Oh my gosh. Yes. 2000.
Like, wait,
2021.
happened in 2021. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's awesome. No, that's great. And so now, so now we have experience doing handmade, we have print on demand under our belt, digital downloads, you said. And then you said you're also working with doing AI are you experimenting with, or you already have it live with the AI generated mockups and stuff like that?
This is such a fun subject. Okay. So do you want a bit of a story on this, Hannah? Because it's okay. In October, we're in 2024 right now. So October of 2023, I was looking for some mockups for my print on demand shop. And I needed something kind of specific, and I couldn't find it in my standard shops that I went to, the mockups that I loved. And I'm doing searches, and I find what I need. And I'm just like, it was for children, actually. I should mention that because I'm looking through the listing, looking for a child's release, a photography release on it to make sure I can use it. The long story short is I realize that the mockups I'm looking at were created with AI. They were created with Midjourney or something like that. And my mind is blown because I know that there are other legal considerations, but the legal consideration of the child waiver was gone. The model waiver aspect was gone with AI. And that was so exciting to me. But then as an Etsy coach, I can't help myself. And I go in and do all of this research to figure out, how are these shops doing? They were all brand new within 3 to 6 months, and they were making $10,000 to $20,000 a month.
Wow.
And my jaw was on the floor because first of all, with digital products, they're often less expensive. So it's harder to make that much money. You might have a lot of sales, but you're not usually they're smaller per item cost. But once someone buys them, you're done. You don't have to do anything else. So I had to learn more about this. And I ended up diving down the rabbit hole, scouring the internet for information, and then getting a Midjourney account. And I started creating my own mockups. So because I'm a podcaster, I always need more content, things to talk about, ideas, inspiration. And so I'm like, I'm just going to start a mockup shop. And I had over 100 sales in the first 30 days selling my own Midjourney mockups. It was completely insane. It was completely insane.
Hold up. Are you documenting this? Please tell me you're putting this on your YouTube channel or your podcast. Please.
So when this airs a couple weeks prior, you will find on my YouTube and on my podcast, I'm actually doing an update. So it's an episode called,
okay, good.
I started an AI digital product shop. Here's what in October. Here's what happened. So perfect timing for that. Yeah.
Because this goes even beyond mockups. You could argue, like, I don't know, people, like, for instance, I'm building out a website and I literally paid for a stock image somewhere else. Like, I paid $15 for an image of like a couch or something. Like, you can do this with more than just, POD stuff, I would say. Like, there's so many like unlimited ways that you could probably utilize this and do it, like even outside of just the POD space. Like, but yeah, I don't know. I'm really interested. Please share in detail everything that you do on that.
No, yeah, it's so fun. I think some of us are waiting. Like a disclaimer, I'm not a legal professional and this isn't legal advice, just informational, but they're still trying to figure out in the courts what the laws are going to be around it. So some of
Right.
us are a little bit braced for impact, like what's it going to look like? At this stage, it's so hard because even if the United States passes laws and decides we're going to follow X criteria, the rest of the world isn't.
Yeah.
Especially, and not, you know what I mean? So it's going to be really interesting to see. So you're probably wise for now on a big thing like a website doing a stock image. But yeah, I'll tell you what, it's a heck of a lot cheaper to be creating your own mock-ups,
Yeah.
mock-ups and stuff. And it's now spun off. I now have 2 separate shops with over 400 sales total, all selling Mid-Journey mock-ups. And one of them's really, really niched down. And one of them is just a general mock-up shop. It's been so fun.
How much is Mid-Journey?
Okay, so they have membership levels. I think the cheapest one is you might be able to get in for 10, but it might be $30 actually right now. It changes all the time. But if you want to keep your content private, it's $60. I actually did so I'm so glad you brought up print on demand as well. I did 2 live workshops that you can still buy on my website, teaching people how to do this because I can't help myself. It's my astrology. I did one that was strictly here's how to make mock-ups and here's how to put them on Etsy. And I gave templates and everything. And then I did one for print on demand. Here's how you can create print on demand designs using Mid-Journey and Ideogram that have text in them. And that'll show you, if you want to really go down a rabbit hole, that'll show you how you can get on a private server so people can't see your stuff and all of that.
Okay.
And how to do it.
Wait, you're giving all that away for free? Or
no, I saw a workshop on it.
Okay, workshop. Okay, perfect.
I wish I was like rich enough where I could just be like, here, this is fun. I've got to.
No, sorry. Yeah, no, that's awesome. We'll make sure we link that below because I would pay for that. Honestly, that's freaking amazing. Okay.
Fascinating.
But so for the plan that you're doing this on Mid-Journey, are you doing it on like which plan? The middle tier, like the $60?
You could do it on any of them. The reason I chose the $60 tier was so that I could not only be on a private server, but I also my images weren't searchable. So if you are strapped for cash, do the $30, get started, get your Etsy shop making the money, and then upgrade so that you can start to, and here's the thing. I don't even know how much it matters because currently as of this, February of 2024, no content created with AI can be copyright or trademarked. So someone could go rip off my images anyway. But I'd rather someone not be able to search for my prompts. I give them away in your workshop.
Okay,
but I don't want just like general public to be able to go grab all of my images and slap up someone in Indonesia. No hate or anything, but like slap up a shop and have everything in 24 hours because they grabbed everything from my feed.
Yeah, that was my question. So when you make this stuff with Mid-Journey, or I'm just talking as like a total noob, don't know anything about this. You are saying that you can resell whatever Mid-Journey gives you and it's not illegal. Like that's legal 100%.
As of today, there are no laws around it.
Okay. Yeah. And then when you sell it, those people are free to use it for commercial use as well.
I mean, I still put in my Etsy listing, like what the terms are. I say that they can't resell them, but there's nothing to say they can't go to Mid-Journey, generate the same thing, or if they were able to find my image, and this is why they can't. So since they can't find my image on that platform, they don't know if they have the rights. Because here's the thing too, it changes if I've edited it. So one of my shops, every single image is pretty highly edited. So those, the law changes because now we're not just dealing with a Mid-Journey image. You see what I'm saying? So it gets scary.
Cool. Wow, that's really, really cool. What is the price point that you can sell these mock-ups at? Can you sell them at is it really low ticket, or can you bundle them and sell like $30 bundles and stuff like that? Like I don't know what the market's like, but tell me more.
This is so fun. So I've like studied this because typically they're selling for, cheap, like depending on what it is, 77 cents to like maybe $3, depending on the intricacy. I can kind of charge more if I've got several people in the image. I can charge more if it's a digital product mock-up rather than a t-shirt mock-up. So it varies, but you're seeing them, you're going to be competing against people who are selling them for 70 cents a piece.
Okay.
Again, you can generate 100 of them in an hour. Like this is so the game is volume. The game is
Yeah.
volume, getting like 4,000 plus listings in your shop. But what I have learned and what I'm now implementing is you want to get enough in your shop where you can sell a full shop bundle. And that's where the money is for this.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, and those ones, the full shop bundle can get sold for what? Like,
It depends on how many you have in your shop. So the one shop that I'm really pushing that on, I sell it for $17 for the whole shop
okay.
bundle, but I only have 150 listings.
Okay.
And I'm selling
Cool.
those daily.
Yeah.
I have a good friend who started just a month or two before me, and she's the one who was making like 10,000 a month from her shop. I'm nowhere near that. She's got 4,000 or 5,000 listings. I'm not even trying to compete with that. I'm just like, you know, I'm just testing for my audience. But
Yeah.
she's killing it, and she's got like over 4,000 listings in her shop. She's got color charts and size charts and all of that available for people in the print on demand space. And she's selling hers, I think, for maybe I honestly can't remember. So, but I believe it was around $30 for the full shop bundle. And she's
Yeah,
just
I would say like even for, I mean, I'm not obviously in the space, but because you're still testing or whatever, I would even suggest like try to get one like up to like, even though it's not cheaper than the rest, Etsy, especially if you put ad money behind it. So like say you post it organically and it's a huge bundled one, and say you can get the price to like $35 or
yes,
$34.99, right? It's still, I would say it's still worth it to test it, but put ad money behind it, because if Etsy sees that your AOV is historically higher than the competitor that's $20, they're still going to prioritize you, especially if you have
yes,
ad money behind it, which could maybe make that snowball effect. Because like for me, for instance, like I was a good example. Like I was quickly looking for, I needed a mock-up for a website, and I spent literally like $10 on one, so like, just because I was in a rush. So I feel like, yeah, most people are going to be more price competitive. I was more like in a rush to find something, but like, I don't know, maybe it's something to split test, it can't hurt, but
you know, what's
I
so
would say,
interesting is trying stock photos, trying to sell them more as stock photos instead of, because I'm selling to it depends. For one of the shops, it's all print on demand, and those folks are looking for cheap. They're looking for
yeah.
cheap. They're looking for bundle. But if I'm targeting someone like you who's trying to put website images up, again,
Mm.
I don't know, the legality scares me a little bit, but
Or a big one is like furniture staging. So
wow.
staging of like stuff like that. Like I feel like if I go to, not Etsy, but if I go to like one of our things that we sell is like custom wall art or whatever, and it's so hard to find like good mock-ups that have the shadows and stuff like that. But now if like Midjourney can make it look like not super like 3D rendered or whatever, I don't know.
Totally.
I'll pay $30 for one image of like a couch that has a good wall with a shadow. You know what I mean? Because it's everything. It's everything for the listing. So I don't know. I think you're onto something for sure. And I'm
Oh,
excited to make sure I'll link below that workshop and all the other goodies that we're going to share later on. But getting more a little bit back, I guess, on the business theory side of things, or like the entrepreneurial side of things, what do you think is like the biggest thing like that you have had to overcome, or the biggest hurdle that you've had to overcome as an entrepreneur in this journey?
you're going to laugh so hard because you were just like giving me a hard time about this a few weeks ago. I know what I'm capable of, and so many of us feel this way. And then I hear all of these amazing success stories, and for me it always feels like it's taking too long. So a really big thing for me that I'm constantly overcoming, I haven't overcome it yet, I'm constantly overcoming, is believing in myself enough to get back focused on the work at hand and not get distracted by all of the other, especially today, all of the other shiny things that are out there that will take our attention, that we're like, well, maybe I can make that work. And especially as someone where it did work for me to test things in the beginning, it's that is the biggest thing, is overcoming my own brain and my own insecurities. Hannah, is really, and I really think that that's the majority of entrepreneurs. It's
Yeah.
overcoming ourselves every time.
No, it is. I was like trying to explain it to somebody, like we were at the Super Bowl party or whatever. Super Bowl was the other day, and someone, she worked like a corporate job, and she's like, yeah, but I'm so scared and the risk. And I'm like, I don't know. There's like two types of people. There's people that like go to entrepreneurship. There's more than two types of people. I don't want to generalize, but I would say there's people where like the risk or the
Yeah.
idea of doing the thing is more scary than changing their situation. So like the idea of going out looking stupid in front of your friends, taking the risk, maybe, financial risk, time risk, I don't know, just the social risk of doing something different. For them, that's too scary. Where I feel like maybe in our cases,
Yeah.
it's like the opposite is more scary. Like if I'm staying stuck where I am, it's actually more
Yes.
uncomfortable. But
Yes.
it's not like, oh my gosh, it's so uncomfortable. And then we go achieve these things and like we feel so great. Though this is like super depressing, but it's like kind of true. And I'm still myself still trying to navigate it. It's kind of like if I had to paint a picture, it's like if I have a cup, right? It's not like the act of achieving a goal that makes me feel full. It's not like the goal itself. It's that making sure that I constantly feel like I'm achieving something because like I'm filling this cup with water and it's not like the water ever gets to the top because there's like a hole in the cup. So it's like it's the act of making sure that the cup constantly stays full as fast as it's draining. That sounds like kind of sad, but it's like really true. And it's like, for me, I just like realized I had like this deep rooted insecurity of like, I have to feel like I'm achieving. It's not
Yes.
actually about achieving the thing. It's that I have to feel like I'm constantly achieving something to feel something else. But yeah, same. I don't know how we got into that
No, because
rabbit
you
hole.
asked me what my biggest challenge has been, and, like, I could get
Yeah.
really tactical with you, and I would be
Yeah.
happy to do that, but, like, genuinely, at the end of the day, it's me. They say, the worst thing that can happen for a new music artist or something like that is to have a hit album or a hit song, because then it's like, "How the hell am I gonna go do this again?" Like,
Yeah.
now now the pressure's really on, you know? And it's the same
Right.
for you and me. Like, I could do something great. My husband laughs at me all the time. He's like, "Do we need to sit here and tick off all of your achievements because you've done more than 99% of people?" And I'm like, "I'm a failure." Like
Yes. Yes. Like you literally have the top podcast, like the top Etsy podcast out there, over 500,000 downloads, people. And it's like how we still feel imposter syndrome. It's like
I'm a loser,
so
but I'm
crazy.
not. At the same time, it's this weird thing, Hannah, because I've done so much work. I'm actually obsessed with myself, not in an unhealthy way. Like I love me. I'm so
Yeah.
proud of me, but it's the same thing you said. It's the achiever, and it's like, it's.
Yeah.
But what's next? But what's
Yeah.
next? But I haven't met this year's goal yet. That kind of thing.
Yeah. So I guess 2024 us is figuring out how can we enjoy the journey,
Maybe
not make
2025.
it. How do we enjoy the journey instead of I don't know, thinking that our cup is leaking all the time or whatever. But yeah, so thank you for sharing that for sure. I think we're going to figure it out. I think there is a way to have your cake and eat it too. And that's why I like to have these conversations because it's like, it's not rainbows and butterflies on every level.
No.
It's not, And I honestly think that, you know, there is a way to navigate this thing where it's like, you can operate out of inspiration and joy and not out of fear and anxiety, which I'm not saying that's the case for you, but for me, it's definitely been that since up until I realized that this year. So I don't know.
We're too
Definitely
stubborn
see.
to not make it. We're far too stubborn. But I
Yeah.
also do you ever wonder sometimes I wonder if I'm gonna be really sad when I'm there because I'm gonna be like, oh, I've got to come up with a new
Right. Right. And
you know what
that's
I mean? Like that my identity again, hello. I have a therapist, guys, I promise, and she's amazing. She's doing a really good job. But just like once you get there, then I think about like, well, what if I won the lottery and all of a sudden I had $100 million? Like I could totally redesign my life, but I think I'd be a little disappointed that I didn't get to like I don't know, see the middle of the story, like see how I went from here to accomplishing
yeah.
what I want to.
Because it's not about the achievement. It's not about the number sign. It's about the feeling like we're doing something productive and making sure that that is a constant inflow of whatever that is and the figuring it out. But yeah, I don't think that that's ever going to go away unless we unless we change something or restructure how we look at what we do every day.
Identity. Rebalance
Yeah,
identity.
yeah, and be able to actually enjoy this journey because otherwise, like, what the hell are we doing?
I don't know. I'm enjoying it though. Like, aren't you? I'm
Yeah,
enjoying it.
I'm starting to. I think looking back in the beginning, I mean, on the surface level, maybe I looked like I was enjoying it, but I was super anxious all the time.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
my anxiety is definitely like getting a lot better, but I couldn't really enjoy it. I enjoyed what it yielded for me as far as like my lifestyle, but I was always thinking too anxiously ahead, I would say.
Yes,
So
I get
yeah,
it.
definitely trying to navigate that. But I guess for you, I mean, what does winning look like for you, I guess, in your next era of entrepreneurship? What are you trying to achieve?
For so For me, it's very like lifestyle oriented. In the sense of I have two children. I homeschool an 8-year-old daughter, and I have a 15-month-old baby. And we spend
Wow.
half of our year in Texas and half of our year at our lake house in northern Wisconsin. We're about to move from in Texas. We're about to move from a house in suburbia to a big farm, and we're buying like so it's the bottom line is, Hannah, is it's money it's money because money creates freedom. And
Yep.
so but it needs to be passive, not totally
Mm,
passive, not investment passive, but it needs to be where I can still spend a lot of time with my kids
yeah.
and we can do this back and forth. I can't be a slave to anything. So that's what it's
Yeah.
going to look like for me, is being able to create the income on a more I can't go back to 14-hour days making signs and be a good
Yeah.
mother to these children. I've got to create streams of income that will continue our lifestyle. And this farm, we've got to completely renovate. We are moving into we're moving from a really pretty house to a total dump to get on this land. And so that's what it is. It's unfortunately, because it does feel a little shallow, it's going to be about the dollar signs, and it's going to be about them not being extremely hard to bring in.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I think you're doing all the right things for sure. For sure, for sure. Especially with all the new Etsy ventures that you're doing. So make sure, yeah, guys, I'll make sure that I'll link all those below so we can follow that journey. But yeah, this got really deep, really
I
fast.
know, but that's you and me, Hannah. That's you and me. Where you go from there?
This is just how it is. This is just how it is. So, all right. What would you say is all right for someone trying to get into Etsy like today? Knowing everything that you've known, doing all the things that you've done, and now understanding, how to build operations more passively and all the things. What would you say is your number one biggest piece of advice for somebody that's like, I'm in my corporate job, I hate my life, this is not for me, right? I think there is some people on some level that the corporate life is for them. They are risk
Yeah.
adverse. The idea of risk is more uncomfortable. But for the people that were like you that are like, I really just want more control. Like I want more control with my life and my freedoms that I have. What advice would you give to that person?
I think that the biggest way to save time and get to a point of success is you have got to do so much research up front. And I don't mean the normal kind of research that people waste their time with. I want you learning about micro niches before you even open your shop. I want you to understand what micro niches are. And if you don't know what that is, it just means that most people come on Etsy. I do shop reviews all the time. I do coaching all the time. And almost every single one, and it's amazing because I talk about this for free on the podcast. I'm so amazed they're still doing it, but they are. I go and look at the shops because they email me this. I'm not getting any views or sales. And I go in and everything is so general. They're like t-shirts that say Mama Life and Dog Mom and Merry Christmas. And I'm like, yes. And if you go, now, well, they just changed it on Etsy where it's not on the site anymore. But if you go to the app, the Etsy shopper app, and you search for something, it'll tell you in the upper right-hand corner how many competing listings there are for that. And if
Mm,
there are more than 5,000, unless you are ready to I don't know, pay for Hannah's ad advice because she'll tell you how to actually not lose all of your money on ads. If you want to do this organically, you've got to get in with the micro niches, and you've got to get more specific. You've got to niche down. And I know you hear that all the time. You're like, what does that mean? I'll give you an example. Don't do something really general like mom life. Do something like Taekwondo mom life. And I'm not
mm,
actually suggesting you do that. I'm saying that's an example of a micro niche. And whereas you're competing with 3 million listings for mom life, for Taekwondo mom life, I'm betting you're down to more like 500 and you've actually got a chance. So the biggest piece of advice I have, Hannah, is do your homework up front. Understand what demand is, because if you're trying to sell something on Etsy that no one's shopping for, you're going to waste your time. If you just get too proud of your own thing and you don't pay attention to what the demand is, it's not going to work. And if you try to go so broad that you're competing with the other 30 million shops trying to sell the exact same thing, you're not going to have any luck. So if you really want to go for the jugular, you've got to do this research up front and understand micro niches.
okay. No, that's awesome. And arguably, you could take that advice not just in the POD or digital download space, but even like Physical goods, if you're selling
It's the
physical
reason
goods.
it's even the reason my podcast took off, Hannah. At the time, there weren't
Mm,
any other Etsy podcasts when I started. There was the Etsy podcast, which wasn't really helping sellers. It's
mm,
because I went for something so specific. It turned out it worked out that it was something I knew. But I
mm.
wasn't trying to be just the next business podcast and have no downloads ever. I went for something really specific,
Specific.
micro niche.
Yeah, and it speaks volumes to 500,000 downloads.
Well, Miss, you have like that many followers or on YouTube subscribers. You're so funny. The podcast space is so much harder though. Like it's just
No, podcast people be loyal.
they're
Loyal.
amazing. I'm obsessed with them.
Good. I actually recently started listening to podcasts more. I really didn't listen to podcasts religiously until like a year ago. Now I listen to them while I work out. Like it's motivational for me
Do you have
to
any
like work.
favorites? Like what do you have to hear every week?
I really like Impact Theory, and then Diary of a CEO, which is more broad. It's not about Etsy, but it
I
is more broad.
love that one. I like to watch it
Yeah.
on YouTube though. I don't want to listen to it. I want to see their faces.
Yeah, I will do both. Like if I'm driving, I just listen. If I'm like working out or when I was doing like the stair stepper, I would like literally watch it and people are like, "What are you watching?" Like
Don't
not
judge.
listening,
I'm
not
gonna be on
listening to
the show one
music.
day.
Right? I hope so. I hope we both are. That would be freaking amazing. Well, this has been super, super awesome, Lizzie. Now to sum this whole thing up, the question that we all want to know is what are you never going to stop striving for until death stopped you?
Mental freedom.
Mental freedom. Kind of what we talked about. I like that. I haven't got
Yeah.
that answer. Peace.
It is
Peace.
peace. That's the word, isn't it? I just don't want to say that because it makes me sound like I'm in anxiety all the time, which no shade for people who are. That's just not me. I do have some, especially you put me in a medical situation. It's a situation, but I want. How do I want to put it? I it's like enlightenment feels too broad, but it's another word to just I want to get to the end of my life and be at peace, not because I'm just not scared of dying, but like it all, whether I've accomplished nothing or I end up a paraplegic, I'm just good. Like I've done the mental work.
Mm.
I'm good. I'm set. I'm whole. That's the word I think I want is whole.
Whole. I think like I said, I think there is a way to have your cake and eat it too. I
Mhm.
really do. Especially now because like all this stuff like you said, it was never talked about. Like my parents, like they didn't talk about mental health. Like and looking back, like the issues and the things that happen to our parents or the things that we don't even know, it's like crazy. So I think it's more accepted now to be like, no, like we actually can live in like we can live feeling good. We can wake up and find that wholeness and it be achieving. But yeah, I love that for you. And I think that's awesome. And I could not agree more. That's probably mine too.
That's why I asked you up front. I was like, I bet you've said this. I'm gonna sound like a
No,
poser.
I never said it like that. I like that. I think I might use that actually.
It's all yours.
um, but I like that. Okay, awesome. Well, Lizzie, this has been awesome. I'm gonna make sure that I link below her podcast. She's got her YouTube channel. We also have her workshops, and then also she's giving us a free. Tell us what you're giving us for free.
So I have this PDF that is extremely popular. You're gonna love it. Everyone downloads it. I put it on TikTok and it goes bananas. It's the 4 strategies I use to take my Etsy shop from $25 a month to $6,000 plus a month. Super straightforward, simple PDF, but with practical, like very, very practical, tactical tips.
Cool. We love that. We need that. All right. All of that stuff is going to be linked below for you all.
I'll get you
And
coupon codes too, Hannah. I'll get your people a coupon.
we will have coupon codes below as well. And yeah, make sure you guys check everything out in the description. And again, thank you so much, Lizzie. I'm sure we'll have you back on here again, hopefully soon.
Thank you. It's always the best to be with you, Hannah.
Yes. All right. Bye, guys.